So you've been looking for ways to earn over 100K in accounting and keep seeing this thing called a CPA. The good news is that the CPA is one of the most respected credentials in business, and the bad news is that it's one of the toughest credentials you can get, but it's well worth it. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly what it takes to earn your CPA license. Let's get into it. I'm Trey, a licensed CPA. I've been through this process myself, and I work in public accounting every day. In this video, I'm going to give you a general roadmap so you know what you're looking towards, regardless of what state you're in and what level of education you have. The CPA requirements come down to three things. Most people call them the 3 E's: education, exam, and experience. Every state uses some version of this framework. The specific numbers vary state by state, but if you understand these 3 pillars, you understand the path. So let's break down each one of them. Let's talk education. And this is where it gets a little nuanced because the rules are actually changing right now, and this could directly affect your path. For decades, the standard has been 150 credit hours to get your CPA license. A normal 4-year accounting degree gives you around 120 credits, so most people have been short by about 30 hours when they're coming out of school. That gap pushed a lot of students into master's programs, 5th-year programs, or loading up on extra electives just to hit that number for their credits. But here's what's happening right now. States are starting to move away from the 150-hour requirement, and there's a real push across the profession to allow 120 credits to be the baseline, and several states have already started to pass legislation or are actively working on getting that completed. The thinking is that the 150-hour rule was contributing to a shortage of new CPAs entering the profession. It added cost and time without necessarily making better accountants. Ohio was actually one of the first major states to make the switch, and a lot of other states are following. So depending on when you're watching this and what state you're in, you may be able to get licensed with just your 4-year degree, and this is a big deal if you weren't excited about paying for an extra year of school. That said, even if your state moves to 120 credit hours, some states are pairing that with additional experience requirements, so the profession isn't lowering the bar, it's just shifting where the investment is happening, going from extra schooling to extra time on the job. Now here's a good question. What kind of credits actually count? Whether your state requires 120 credits or 150, the hours need to include the right coursework. States generally require a certain number of accounting-specific credits and a certain number of business-related credits for you to be able to sit for the exams. The accounting coursework typically needs to cover areas like financial accounting and reporting, auditing, tax, cost or material accounting, and accounting information systems. And the business credits usually cover things like finance, business law, economics, and management. If you're an accounting major on a standard track, you're most likely satisfying most of these subject requirements already. The variable is the total credit count and whatever your specific state requires. Bottom line here, check your state board right now because the rules might be different than what you've been told. And if your state has moved to 120 credit hours, you might be closer to being eligible than you think. Once you've gone through the education, the next part is passing the CPA exams. And those exams are not easy. They all hover around a 45 to 55% pass rate for each exam, so that's not an exam that you want to swing. As of 2024, the exam has a new structure. There are 3 core sections that everyone has to pass. FAR, which is financial accounting and reporting. This one is the heaviest section. It covers financial statements, government accounting, non-profit accounting, and most people consider this to be the hardest exam. The second exam that you can expect to take is audit. This covers audit procedures, ethics, internal controls. It's more conceptual than FAR, but it's still very dense. The last required exam is regulation. This goes over tax law, business law, and ethics. And if you like tax, this one is probably going to be the most interesting to you. On top of the 3 core sections that you have, you can now pick one of the discipline sections, and your 3 options are this. You got BAR, business analysis and reporting, ISC, Information Systems and Control, TCP, Tax Compliance and Planning. You only have to sit for one of these 3. Pick one that aligns with your career path, or if you're like me, pick the easiest one. But if you're going into tax, TCP is probably the obvious choice here. Each one of the sections is scored on a scale from 0 to 99. You need to have a 75 to pass, and you have 18 months to pass all 4 sections once you pass the first one. So there's a clock that's running. Bottom line here, start studying early and use a reputable review course like Becker, and take it while you're still in school or fresh out. This is going to give you the best chance at passing because you're going to have the most available time and you're going to have the information fresh in your head. Third piece of the CPA equation is experience. Most states require 1 or 2 years of accounting work under supervision of a licensed CPA before they'll issue you the full license. But here's what trips people up. Not all work qualifies. States are generally looking for experience in one of the following areas: public accounting, tax prep, audit, advisory work at a firm. That's the most straightforward path and what most new grads are pursuing. You also can qualify using industry accounting, working in the accounting or finance department of a company. Think financial reporting, internal audit, budgeting, or management accounting roles. You can also use government or nonprofit accounting, federal, state, local government accounting roles, or working in finance at a nonprofit. This one counts in most states. Last but not least, academia. Some states allow for college level accounting teaching experience to qualify, though it's less common as a primary path because it requires you to have a lot of experience to get into a role like this. The key across all of these is that the work needs to involve actual accounting skills. Bookkeeping alone at a very basic level doesn't cut it. We're talking about work that uses accounting judgment, preparing or reviewing financial statements, tax planning, compliance, audit procedures, financial analysis. You need to have work that actually aligns with what CPAs normally do. And this has to be signed off by a licensed CPA. Your supervisor or a qualified CPA at your firm vouches that you actually did the work and that you were doing it at a competent level. The good news is that if you go straight into public accounting, like I did, you're knocking out the experience requirement from literally your first week on the job. You shouldn't think of the experience requirement as a hurdle on top of everything else. You need to think about this as it's where you get to actually start making sense of the things that you studied in the real world. The last thing people often forget is that many states require you to pass an ethics exam on top of everything else. This is basically an open book exam based off of the AICPA's Code of Professional Conduct, and it's not nearly as hard as the CPA exams, but you need to know it exists and budget some time for it. And just a word of advice, this was the only CPA exam that I actually failed, so do not sleep on this exam. Check your state board's specific requirements so that you're not caught off guard, because some states have this and other states don't. So to recap, the CPA license comes down to 3 things: education, 150 credit hours with the right accounting and business coursework; the exams, 3 core sections and 1 discipline section with a 75 to pass each; experience, 1 or 2 years under a licensed CPA. Start planning early. Take the exam while the material is fresh and don't sleep on the ethics requirement. The CPA is one of the best investments you can make in your accounting career. It's hard to get, which is exactly why it's worth having. If this video helped you, subscribe. I post videos weekly about accounting careers, personal finance, and tax strategy. Drop a comment and tell me where you're at in the process, studying for the exam, working for your 150 credit hours, or just starting to plan. I read every comment. I'm Trey, the CPA. See you guys in the next video.